My whole life, I've been told that smoking is bad. Smoking will kill you. Smokers deserve to die.
I smoked for 40 years.
50 years.
I'll go to my grave smoking.
I pretty much thought that smoking was a thing of the past, part of history. I was wrong.
Billion people dying from smoking-related diseases.
70% of current smokers want to quit.
You try and you fail, you try and you fail.
I was shocked when I found out that many people were using new ways to quit.
It's one of the biggest public health breakthroughs we've ever had.
E-cigarette.
Un cigarrillo que utiliza electricidad.
E-cigarette. Kind of a savior.
Alternative to lighting up.
And that day, I stopped.
Those ways were being banned in more and more countries.
Easier to buy a cigarette than to buy an e-cigarette. That makes no sense.
Governments worldwide are the biggest shareholders in the revenue of cigarettes.
Dangers of e-cigarettes.
And the public health community is lying about those.
Chemical.
Dangerous.
Poisonous.
There's no evidence to back that up.
It was a fraud.
People are going to die.
We don't know.
But we don't know.
Chocolate.
The antifreeze.
And other flavors.
What's going on?
Seized almost 1,000 shipments.
Raided my house.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
The public needs to know the truth about these products.
And they need public health people telling the truth about the risks. At least 95% less risky than smoking.
Nobody cares.
It's irresponsible.
3 black SUVs.
Disruptive change.
Illegal action.
Promise.
Don't let the bastards win.
I'm going to quit.
This is the battle for 1 billion lives. All right, everybody, how are we doing today? Big news for the stuff that we've spent the last couple years focusing on here as we made 1 billion lives. The FDA, which is in my home country of the United States, has decided to not only change some dates, but actually change their tone as well. And for all of our team here at 1 Billion Lives, it was a very emotional, very exciting day. Obviously, it's not the end of some of the pain, but this is definitely, in our opinion, the beginning of the end to a lot of what we saw as being corporate-driven, corrupt, regulations that were actually going to be hurting people. So one of the main reasons for making the film. So lots of celebration. I'm actually joined here today by a friend of mine who became a friend here shortly before the movie actually was finished and offered to help get the word out and use some of his connections. His name is Kurt Loblick, who joined us in New Zealand for our world premiere and actually did some of the live streaming. I've got him here live from Illinois joining us. Kurt, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing very good. We've had definitely one of those days where you kind of believe that all the pain and heartache was worth it, and yeah, we're just kind of having some celebrations here. So yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, everything's good. I mean, obviously, as we all know, we've suffered a lot of losses here, and not too long ago, we have the flavor bans going on in San Francisco. We have the lawsuit, the right to be smoke-free, and the Nicopere lawsuit. We had some bad news with that. We even had some bad news with the lawsuit regarding vaping on airplanes. So it's been a pretty rough year for us so far, and having this piece of information, having this bit of news is obviously it's making us cheerful at the very least. We know that this isn't over yet by any means, but it's nice to have a win that we can put in our back pocket for once.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you guys who didn't see some of the news, I know we posted the speech, the new FDA commissioner's speech. We posted that on our Facebook page and on Twitter and a variety of other places. And, for me, it was obviously great news. Just reading it, you could tell that there was a huge change in tone and a huge change in how they referred to these vapor technology products instead of as harmful, addicting threats to children and all this stuff. They referred to them as innovative products. And we've been pushing for just that sort of intelligent wording and ways to talk about these products because it was scaring smokers away. Instead of them trying vapor technology products instead of smoking, they were just saying, I'm just going to keep smoking because this stuff seems kind of dangerous. And so the fact that they're referring to them as innovative products, I thought was huge. And then the fact that they also, were talking about, they pushed the deadline. So the deadline now for when the prohibition would have begun is actually 5 years from this August instead of about a year or so. So yeah, I don't know, Kurt, did you see anything significant when you first heard that? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. So I had listened in this morning at 9 o'clock Central is when the call was going on, and there were definitely some positive things that I heard. One of the most important things that he was doing is that he was separating combustible, and by he I mean Scott Gottlieb. He's the commissioner of the FDA. He was separating combustible cigarettes from the ends products, from tobacco in general, and that's huge. That means that they realize that there truly are different levels of products that are out there. You know, it's not just smoking or not smoking. There's smoking, there's vaping, there's premium cigars, there's the Swedish snus and stuff like that. So we now know that he at least realizes that there's different levels and different ways that nicotine can be delivered, and that's huge. That is what we have been stressing for the longest time, is that we are about tobacco harm reduction. And from what he said, and from the general attitude in which he was taking, the approach that he was taking, I think is going to be huge for us. I think it's going to start more conversations. We're going to be able to get studies that do prove, and more studies. Obviously, there are studies out there, but more studies that prove that these alternative nicotine delivery methods are safer. And that's what we have been trying to get across. And I think this is a good first step for us to really, really open up that conversation again. It seems that now they might actually be willing to listen.
Yeah, for sure. And I got a chance to take part in the stakeholders phone call that happened after all of this, and it was interesting to see some of the usual characters there. You know, you had the campaign for tobacco-free kids, and even our friend Stanton Glantz, who agreed to be in the movie but then wouldn't schedule a time. You know, these guys, you know, forever have been screaming about how, these are about the children, and it's about the children, and, you know, flavors and all this stuff, and which I find to be disingenuous for an intelligent human being to say that's something that, you know, has no record at this point of causing any deaths and has been helping millions of people quit smoking. It's just as dangerous as something that, you know, science is showing, you know, roughly half the people who smoke are going to die early from some sort of smoking-related illness. So we know when people start talking like that, and even, you know, talking about the children and save the children, you know, I mean, that's what Hitler said, you know, and obviously we know how that went down. It makes me nervous anytime people are just constantly saying things about saving the children. You know, parents are there to save their own children. And whenever I start hearing people who are doing fundraising trying to save children, usually that means that there's something, I mean, at least sometimes it means there's something going on. You really have to look at that. And so in this case, you had the FDA saying they wanted to save the children, but they were talking about using innovative products. And, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting. Another, you know, I was looking at the folks from EVCA actually sent me a synopsis of some of the stuff that they saw, just to give you guys some of the facts here that were announced. The FDA was announcing a new comprehensive plan, and it wasn't just about vapor technology products, but they're talking about shifting the trajectory of tobacco-related disease and death by pursuing lower nicotine levels for cigarettes, which I know, I think, did they try that, Kurt? Did they try that a couple decades ago with cigarettes? Do you remember that story?
I don't recall.
Yeah, well, I do recall it, I guess, and I wasn't there for it most likely, but what they were doing is lowering the nicotine levels in cigarettes, which, as you can imagine, if nicotine is something that you're looking for, lowering that nicotine really only means that you're probably going to be smoking more, not less. And when you're dying from cigarettes, from the smoke and from the, you know, carbon monoxide and the tar, not the nicotine, actually smoking more to get the nicotine actually causes more death and more harm. And so that I thought was, you know, one of those things that was kind of put to bed, put to rest as kind of a bad idea. But unfortunately, it looks like they're bringing it back. But now in this time frame, you know, fast forward to 2017, we now have alternative products that deliver nicotine in a way that isn't causing tar and carbon monoxide, vapor technology products, and as well as some of the other things. So it's very possible at this point that what could happen is, as the cigarettes are delivering less nicotine, people are perhaps going to be, you know, interested in perhaps trying some of these new reduced risk products. And so, you know, like vapor technology, where, you know, they're estimating it's like 95% or less, you know, safer than vaping. So I thought that was intriguing. And I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that one, Kurt?
Yeah, I do actually. We have to remember that the FDA and many of these other health organizations that are out there, is they are primarily looking at children, right? So them requiring a reduced amount of nicotine in the cigarette, you know, if someone, it's impossible for them to get hooked, which, what is, you have to figure out what is that number to where it really doesn't have an impact. It doesn't start the addiction. I could see that, being their target, and that's why they want to do it. But we also have to remember that, look, it's not just the nicotine that is causing people to get addicted to cigarettes. There's, thousands of chemicals in there. And, what happens when you actually smoke them and you burn the tobacco and everything else is, that's what I think they seem to be forgetting with that. But because of the fact that they're leaving the opening for there to be alternative products, that maybe this is their way of satisfying some of those individuals, which, as we've seen from some of the different press releases that have come out today, is people are not very satisfied with what the FDA is doing today. But maybe that's his attempt to try and legitimize what he is doing without coming out and saying, look, I support vaping and I think that this is a good product. So, time will tell really what they're going to do. And obviously we're all anxiously waiting their different guidance documents and further, information that they're going to publish and make available for us, because it's going to be very telling what their true goal is and what exactly he is trying to do.
Yeah, real quick on that nicotine. We spent about 10 minutes of that on the film because I feel like that's probably the most misinformed thing in the public, that people actually, I think, was something like 70% of doctors think that nicotine causes cancer, which is outrageous, okay, for a doctor to be thinking that. And a lot of people are, because back in the day when they were campaigning against cigarettes, they kept talking about nicotine instead of actually, the smoking part of it, which is the deadly part. So nicotine itself, we know, is not the problem. It's not the problem. You could just chew nicotine gum the rest of your life, and most likely, other than maybe an elevated heart rate or some blood pressure, you're really not going to have any issues. You're certainly not getting lung cancer from that, as well as any of the other things. There's no carcinogens in nicotine. So I thought it was fascinating that they kept talking about nicotine. But, honestly, and this was what I was getting a lot of today, people were pushing back saying, Aaron, like, this stuff, I don't know, doesn't sound good. They're still talking about nicotine and flavors. Well, folks, if you look at the FDA, it's a giant organization and bureaucracy of people. And obviously they've seen a lot of this stuff going on, including the news around the movie, as well as all these lawsuits and everything. The FDA, the Heartland hearings where they're doing Deeming, as well as, going after Deeming and going to sue the FDA. There's all these things going on. Obviously they know that there's a problem. And so for them to be shifting now, a new administration comes in. And, you can't expect them just to, okay, we're turning it all off. It just doesn't work that way, And so what I saw today was a transition, one that seemed respectful of the people that had been working on it, even though I don't know how much respect some of those people deserve, but it was respectful, and it was beginning. It's like the Titanic, and if you see an iceberg ahead, you're not going to just turn around and go the other way. You have to shift, and you have to shift early. So these guys, they pushed it back 4 more years, which is 5 years from next month, to give themselves lots of time for science, which, as we know what the science already is, millions of people have already, done the test on their own selves and found that this is better than smoking. We know what the technology can do, and obviously we just need some science here to catch up. I'm seeing a signal for that. Folks, also, those of you guys who are joining us, we are going to be taking some questions, and definitely feel free to comment below if you guys have had some success with these. But yeah, we are going to be interacting with you guys. We are here. This is live. And we just wanted to make sure we got a chance to get everybody on and watching before we started talking about some of those questions. Kurt, anything else you saw today that we should talk about before we get into the questions?
Well, just based on the press release from Gottlieb, is one of the things that we do need to reiterate is that the fight is not over by any means. All that he has really done as of today is they've pushed back the PMTA. That's all they have done. So they've given us, an additional 4 years. What that means is that any of the other deadlines, they're still standing. So the registration, the no selling to minors, all, the ingredient listing and all of that is still there. So it's important for the business owners out there to make sure that, hey, this isn't the end. This doesn't mean you're off the hook and don't have to do anything, that you guys are still working with your trade organizations, with your attorneys, to make sure that you guys can stay compliant per the deadlines. Now, something else that we do need to focus on is, because the health organizations are not happy with the step that he's taking by pushing back some of the deadlines, is we are going to see a redoubled effort on their part to try and implement flavor bans statewide. We're going to see them redouble their effort for tobacco 21 taxes. So once again, this doesn't mean you can breathe a sigh of relief. It actually means what you need to do is you need to gear up again and make sure that you are working with your trade organization, make sure that you're meeting with your representatives and helping shut down any potential bills before they become a problem. Because like I said earlier today, we've all seen San Francisco, we've all seen Oakland, and we don't want that to happen to you guys. Now, another important thing within there is flavors. They're going to be opening up a comment period regarding flavors again. If you remember, they had flavors initially, and then the OMB redlined that and said they couldn't have that part of their deeming regs. By them reopening the flavor conversation, we need to make sure that we as an industry, we as consumers, are proactive and once again reach out to the people who can help you understand what the FDA is looking for when it comes to writing comments, because there is going to be a comment period, and we need to make sure that we are flooding them with positive examples of how flavors have helped you quit smoking or switch from smoking to vaping, or cut down your smoking. Because if Gottlieb is truly willing to listen right now, and it appears from his speech earlier today that there's a good opportunity for us to really have an impact, and hopefully we can make them understand that, look, flavors aren't just for kids. I like Snickers as much as the 8-year-old. So we need to make sure that we are staying proactive here, and we're not just saying that we have won the war. We've won the war here, because we certainly have. And this is just a battle. It may have been a big one. It gives us 4 more years to continue selling products currently on the market, but it is far from over.
That's that's definitely something to remember. I know a lot of people, they are, historically, it was very slow to get people to actually get active about this. And in fact, sometimes I still wonder, because now what's happened is you had a few people that were carrying all the activity and trying to get better at, reaching out to the leaders and changing opinion. And then, just as other people were starting to get more on board, then all of a sudden some of these, smackdowns happened, some of the, I would say corrupt legislation and other rules starting to ban some of the discussion about this and whatnot. And people started to fall off. They got discouraged. And I believe now what we have is we have 5 years essentially to get the truth out there. If there's ever a time to start to wake up, you got to hit the snooze button essentially. But now it is time to wake up and actually get going on this. Real quick, I just saw one of the comments here. I'm actually watching a little bit on YouTube. And I see some of the people were worried about us being some sort of propaganda effort. And, well, obviously you can see here we are. The movie's been out now for a while. And although the Blu-rays are going to be coming very soon, I actually just heard from the factory that they're going to be shipping next week. But yeah, we are essentially done making the movie, but here we are still fighting, still talking about this effort, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't achieve what we were hoping for, there's definitely a sense of dissatisfaction. So I appreciate all you guys who have stuck with us and can see honest journalists when they're trying to be honest and when they're trying to actually help things. So, yeah, for that. One other thing, too, I wanted to just note. I'm looking through these notes here. One of the things that, I was on that call afterwards and people were asking, a lot of questions. One of the things that was interesting is that the FDA does expect manufacturers to continue to market the products that they have. And so that's going to be an important thing. Marketing equals communication. Obviously sometimes marketing can be not helpful or, in some cases wrong. But obviously we have laws about, illegal or, false advertising. But allowing people to talk about it, that's going to be one of the key changes. They also said they're going to be announcing a lot of new ways to interact with the agency and how they're going to be changing a lot of things coming up soon. And obviously, judging by the tone, remember, this was just the beginning of seeing, oh, the boat is going to turn. Obviously, there's some cautiousness that needs to happen, but ultimately what we're seeing is they've said they are going to be changing some things and additional things. And so would not be surprising to see some additional rules or lack of enforcement on certain things. We will see, obviously, and we'll be keeping you guys updated here. So make sure to subscribe on our YouTube and Facebook or sign up for the email so that we can keep you guys updated on that. Looking at some other notes here. Essentially, it's making cigarettes less appealing, and some of these new age technology efforts looking more appealing. Kurt, we were talking a little bit before the show about the tobacco industry, and obviously we could see what this is going to do to them, at least initially. You could see investors and some of the smartest people in the world. What were you seeing on the stock market today?
Yeah, so what we've seen right now is we've seen a 5 to 10% drop in some of the big T and some of the big tobacco companies. So this is not good news for them, because when you look at what Gottlieb was trying to do, and he was focusing so heavily on combustible tobacco, combustible cigarettes, that's what he was primarily focused on. The bad news, right? The good news, for us at least, was that, that he's going to allow the vaping industry to keep doing what it's been trying to do. So yeah, investors right now are skeptical, and for these big T companies, cigarettes are still their source of income. And like, yeah, a lot of them have gotten into electronic cigarettes. You have Mark 10 and some of the other stuff that's out there. But if investors are worried, if health orgs are worried, then that this is something that is in the vaping industry's favor. So
yeah, for sure. And that's something to see, because obviously, like Philip Morris made a pledge to stop selling combustible cigarettes at some point. Obviously, they haven't set a deadline on that, but you can see that in some ways the FDA is seeing that companies that are making cigarettes are able to change, and that maybe this will start to encourage some of that, obviously, because with less nicotine or some of those other changes that could be coming down the road, people are going to be definitely less interested in buying cigarettes. So that will force the companies to start to shift, and they've already begun, but obviously now that will probably kick that into high gear, and obviously the market is seeing that may not be as profitable. And so obviously the stocks are being hit a little bit here, but yeah, obviously we're not as much worried about stocks as we are live. So I was pretty excited to see the news. Other things too, real quick. Obviously I got a chance to testify against the FDA in those collaborate. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind here on this. But the hearings that were leading to a lawsuit against the FDA for not. Oh my gosh, it's not collaboration. You remember, Kurt? What is that? Oh my gosh, the process. Shoot, that
you're talking about the coordination here.
Yeah, coordination. Yeah, well, because they were saying, obviously it was kind of this obscure law, and a lot of people were very skeptical about it, and I understand that skepticism. I was too, and I talked to a variety of lawyers, and they were also like confused, but they said it, hey, it's worth a shot. Well, obviously here, EVCA sent me a press release today and actually said that the announcement from the FDA comes just one day after the Village of Heartland submitted their letter to them stating that they either begin doing these coordination proceedings or they were going to have a lawsuit. So I don't know if that was specifically related. I think the timing is intriguing. I also noticed that some of the wording, during the press release and some of the calls afterwards was actually closely following. If you got a chance to read that 70-page document that they sent, a lot of the wording and stuff that they were discussing today, I thought actually lined up kind of with that. So I'm intrigued. I'm cautiously optimistic about the power that had. Obviously, was thankful to be a part of it, and I think that when you're looking at the different ways that we can approach, it's kind of that all hands on deck type approach, and that really when you see different tactics in the same war, you definitely don't want to discourage people from trying that. And I felt like sometimes you see, Kurt, as you used to be more involved with the industry, and obviously now we're, turning into a conglomerate here of all kinds of different businesses. But as you know, it's been frustrating to kind of get some of these advocacy organizations to focus on advocacy and stop talking about each other. And that's been one of my biggest disappointments during this whole movie time was, the lack of really just collaboration, and that. Yeah, that was disappointing. But obviously you saw the lawsuits failed and a bunch of other things. Well, here maybe we had some success with at least one of those tactics. And I think that's a good reminder not to be discouraging to people because the EVCA has been doing that. And I'm pretty sure for the most part those people leading that are just volunteering, trying to raise funds. But obviously, when you're in a dying industry, it's kind of hard to fund things like that. So anyway, that was kind of my last notes on that. Let's get into some of these questions here from you guys. Just going to hit refresh. Yeah, on YouTube, let me look at the YouTube comments real quick. That I saw one of those things here. All right, let's get into this here. All right, lots of nice little things. Thank you guys for that. Yeah, collaboration is starting to happen. Someone said, I don't know about that. I'll believe it when I see it. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk, right to be smoke-free, collaborative, and all of that, and I thought that was a good effort, but then I still see a lot of things behind the scenes that were not impressive to me on that. But yeah, now would be the time. So yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Some people saying they had their family watch the movie, which is awesome. Thank you guys. I know that was one of the things that I had on my heart while making the movie was a lot of the emails early on that I'd get from mom saying that they're worried that, oh, my son is now vaping and I think he's going to die, or oh, my son started this vape shop, and I think he might be crazy, tell us. And I would actually answer their question right away, but obviously the movie was designed to help all those folks that, maybe weren't able to convince their moms on their own. So yeah, that's cool. All right. Wow, so many comments here. Geesh. Someone was asking how do they volunteer for official testing on the effects so far? Well, good luck with that. They're probably not going to trust you if you volunteer, so I guess we have to just wait to see, maybe they ask. But I know that there was something out there where somebody was asking for volunteers, but you kind of got to be careful, too, if you know that an organization kind of has some twisted funding issues or a twisted agenda, that most likely that means their studies coming out already have the answer or their answer, and so they'll just be taking the data that fits that, so that kind of sucks. Boy, lots of comments, not seeing a lot of questions here. Let's see, I'm just looking through. Someone said they were just suspended from school for 3 days for vaping. And obviously I don't think that children should start vaping, but obviously, you look at 16, 17-year-olds. I think, Kurt, do you know kind of what the average was for when people started smoking? Do you recall?
It's probably like 14 or 15,
yeah,
something
13,
way down
14,
there.
15, something like that. So, I've been seeing a lot of these let's make cigarettes illegal for anyone under 21, but they're bringing the the vaping into it, the vapor technology products, which I find to be kind of ridiculous, because for a 13, 14, or 15-year-old kid, it's already illegal to smoke, but they're still doing it. And obviously it's not as easy to bum a vape off of somebody as it is to take a cigarette. So I do believe that they need to reconsider that. And anytime you see someone trying to include vapor technology in their 21 and under ban, that they're doing something a little shady, or they're being lobbied by people that are doing some shady things. So keep that in mind too, folks. All right, yes, people saying they can't wait for the Blu-rays to arrive. Yes, we got all kinds of cool videos on there, special effects. We're going to talk about that another time, though. I don't want to get too promotional here. Yeah, someone had just said definitely better not to use anything until you're finished growing. Nicotine, like caffeine, can cause problems for young people growing minds. We definitely don't advocate for people using anything nicotine related, until obviously they're old enough. 21 would be a fine age for that, but obviously we know that a lot of people are smoking younger than that, so they need to have that alternative if they do get addicted. So anyway, oh yeah, Bill, one of the guys commented here on YouTube saying that these guys are not going to be resting, the bad people, if you will, that they are only going to begin to fight, because just like the people on the side of the truth and on the side of health, the people that are on the side of making money off of this are saying, oh, we also only have 4 or 5 years to really get this fight going. So yeah, yeah, it sucks. All right, seeing some more comments here all over the world. Hungary, Ireland, all kinds of people saying hi. Oh, here's a good one, Kurt. Let's talk about this. Someone just said local government is going to screw us, especially in the blue states, to counter Gottlieb, who's the FDA commissioner. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, there are some popularity issues in some cases with the current government. Do you believe that there will be an effort to fight vapor technology simply because this change was attached to the current administration? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that what we're going to see is the different health organizations rally together, and once again they're going to try and force local municipalities, states to enact tobacco 21 policies, because that's been their goal all along, right? Is they don't want people smoking, they don't want people vaping, they don't want flavors, they don't want kids, even being able to get their hands on it. And now that it's going to be a more difficult fight for them at the federal level, which they're not giving up by any means, they are going to continue to lobby to try and get the FDA to do what they want them to do. But because it's a completely different ball game at the state level, there's less layers that they have to work through. So yes, we're going to see states and cities and counties, they are going to go to these guys and they're going to tell them, look, the FDA is failing you. This is why they're failing you. This is what you need to do. So that's why, like I had said earlier, it's imperative for consumers and for business owners in the vaposphere to make sure that you are working with the local trade organizations. If you're a consumer, working with CASA, making sure that you're meeting with your representatives and talking to them about this, and if you get there first and, you're not trying to go against the ALA or whomever it may be, there's an opportunity for us to say, look, the FDA is starting to roll back. Now, right now it might be a little too soon because, sure, we've seen the PMTA get pushed back, but let's see what the FDA releases next. Let's see what guidance documents they make available, because this is going to be great for us. If they are saying that vaping is a healthier alternative or a safer alternative to smoking, then this is evidence that you can present to your people, your elected officials, and say, look, the FDA is saying this. We've got studies from all over the world now that are saying this, and it's going to give us an opportunity to really set the standards for the vaping industry within the states and make sure that, electronic cigarettes and vapor products are available to people who are 18 years old and smoking, available to the 53-year-old. And, if they like caramel flavor, we need to make sure that all those things are available. So it's so imperative that we are still being proactive and we're still meeting with our representatives and talking to them about it, because you have to remember that these guys, they don't know everything that we know. They are dealing with a plethora of issues, whether it be budget or education, whatever it may be. So, when they get information on a specific topic, it's a one-pager, right? It's whatever was fed to them by one of their staffers, and that information was fed to them from somewhere else. So let's make sure that we're getting our own one-pagers in there, and that we are stopping these tobacco 21 ordinances in their tracks, that we're making sure that taxes aren't pushed through, we're making sure that flavor bans aren't going through. And that's going to be up to all of you guys to make sure that we stay ahead of this, because like I said earlier, the war is far from over. This is, we're going to see a redoubling of effort from these guys, and we need to make sure that we're doubling, tripling, quadrupling ours, because this, now we have 4 years to really mold what the atmosphere is going to be and what the environment's going to be here.
Yeah. One of the comments here, just seeing Chad and a couple other people referencing this idea that, or not the idea, but the fact that product innovation is still frozen. In fact, Chad says it's just frozen longer. Well, that is true as for now. And that question was asked actually in that post-speech call that I was on. And actually what they said was, okay, so you say innovation is important to save lives. Well, what are we supposed to do about all these new products? So just no more new products? How is that innovation? And actually, yeah, the FDA actually said that they were now going to be considering new products, but that you had to bring it to them. They were not clear on that. But remember, with this change in tone and some of the things that are coming out in the new science, I would not be surprised if that innovation would be open fairly soon, but that you have to start somewhere, and today was definitely that start. And behind the scenes, I'm being told a lot of different things from people that are fairly close to the FDA and other things, that there is a lot of discussion going on there that they have not made public today, and I won't get into too much of that, but obviously you can see our level of enthusiasm with today's announcement and what does that actually mean. So that's a good question. Someone else is asking why there are under 300 people watching this only. I don't know. I'm pretty pumped about 300 people watching. Thank you guys. That's only on Facebook. YouTube is also going pretty strong. Yeah, feel free to share the video if you guys would like to see more people watching. We love all the comments going on here. Let me get into some other ones here. Yeah, some thanks from South Africa. Yep, we were really pumped in South Africa to kind of be a part of that, avoiding them getting into that. And we actually were there just at the right time for that, which is pretty fun. All right, wow, you guys are so many good comments here. Oh yeah, the flavor bans. And obviously we saw that San Francisco, some flavor bans, and other places around the country that is starting to be the thing, that flavors. We need to ban flavors because flavors addict children, and obviously that's probably one of the stupidest things that I've heard. Obviously adults like flavors, and that's also one of the reasons why you would want to switch from smoking to vapor technology, would be because the flavors are so good. So I don't buy that. Today, the FDA did talk about flavors as something that they were going to reopen that discussion. I think that's fantastic, because what they need to do is make some new rules about flavors, potentially, ones that will be nationwide and that will basically kill all of those local bans. They just need to make something about flavors. I don't know what it'll be, but given their new tone and the fact that they're saying they want to spend years on the science, I would not be surprised if that would end up being a positive thing. Plus, they wanted to reopen the discussion, meaning you guys out there are going to be able to comment on that. And with a new administration, I think that those comments actually might be listened to this time. So, yeah, good one. Let me look here. Lots of love. Thank you guys so much for all the love. I wish I could get to all the names, but all right. Just keep coming so fast. And yeah, Cancer Research UK is doing great work on this. We're going to see a lot more data coming out on that. Some people said, what's going on with the lawsuit from Heartland? I would assume that with today's announcement that is on hold, because essentially what they said is that we are going to back off on everything here for the next 5 years and figure it out. I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't speak for those guys from the town of Heartland, but I do live nearby, so I might swing over and ask them about that. Some questions for you, Kurt. Some people requesting a Billion Lives sequel. I don't know. We'll see on that. That really just depends on if we can afford to do it. So thank you to everyone who bought the movie and bought the shirts and all that kind of stuff. That's really awesome. Here, gentleman Robert Caruso says, can you see... Oh, wow. Comments are disappearing because there's so many of them. But he was asking, do we see basically the local place or the statewide politicians being kind of the next big battle while the FDA shakes out? Kurt, what's your thoughts on that? I know you just kind of mentioned that, but can you speak specifically to that being the next big battle, or do you think that the federal battle is still kind of the main focus right now?
I think what we're going to see now is, as the FDA continues to provide additional guidance to us, it's really going to determine what the quote-unquote big battle is. But states and local municipalities, they should never be forgotten, because even though maybe they're not one big battle, but remember, if you have an army and, every time you lose a guy, every time someone falls, it's opening up the opportunity for another person to fall too. So, California was a complete disaster, a complete mess, and that wasn't anyone's fault beyond, California themselves. But, we
had a giant event there, and those local advocacy organizations in California, I thought were pretty lame, and didn't even take the opportunity. Even though we had tons of celebrities and politicians there, they didn't. I don't know, but yeah, they definitely, in some ways, man, that's one of those things where it's like you guys got to be smarter and you got to work together, and you can't sit there, guys. If you're watching this, I know most of you guys were probably preaching to the choir, but ultimately we need to get people awake. I mean, this is a serious thing. It's threatening not just people's lives, but their businesses and tons of other things. So yeah. Anyway, sorry to jump in there, but yeah, the California thing is definitely a big one.
Yeah. So California was a mess, and we don't want to see that happen everywhere. I live in Illinois. And I'm a board member of the trade organization here, and we have been fighting for the past, 5 years now to make sure that, vaping is still around tomorrow. So, the big battle, it's always a battle. There's always going to be another municipality. There's always going to be another state that's going to try and do something. So it's imperative that you're staying on top of it. And, once again, and being a dead horse here, but it's imperative that you're working with your trade organizations, working with CASAT, working with your representatives to make sure that your state, your city, your town isn't the next to fall, because there's only so many, cities and states before, the state laws have all passed, and it's it's essentially worse than the FDA regulations. So need to stay proactive on that. We need to keep fighting. Need to make sure that our representatives are on our side.
Yep, absolutely agree with that. So, all right, cool. Let me look and see here. What other comments? Otherwise, there are so many, though. Man, I'm going to come back probably go back through and actually answer some of these ones myself here. But, wow, this is so great. Yeah, John, who was actually in the movie, he just commented, he said the fight is only just starting. Same in the UK. That absolutely is indeed the case. And I've been telling people this for a long time. When our movie came out August, the North American premiere was August 8th last year. And a lot of people said that you're too late. And I said, no, you guys don't understand this, but the battle is literally just beginning. And here we see now that we've got about a 5-year battle ahead of us, and that it is important to actually support your advocacy organizations. It's important to actually do the work yourself. Don't just throw $5 at somebody and hope that they do the job for you. If you believe that this is important for you, for your health, for your family, for your business, wake up and get going on this, guys. This is the time. So we do appreciate everyone who's been going out. A lot of people have been telling me, and I see some comments here, that people are just tired, and that they're weak and just weary from the constant beating and the lack of support. Guys, it's time to change this. It is time, literally. Now, you have 5 years, and I agree with John. The battle is just beginning. I am surprised to hear, though, in the UK, people say that. But even where you guys think it's good, there's still people that have huge money influences that are fighting back and, trying to make sure, in some ways, even though they wouldn't say this, but, that smoking continues, because smoking is the source of a huge part of our economy. When people are sick, that they buy healthcare-related things. And, it's not just the cigarette sales, the taxes and all that. That's a big thing. So Until taxes on cigarettes go away and people don't get sick from them, which is never going to happen, yeah, we're going to have to keep vigilant, because all it takes for bad things to happen is for, you know, the people that know the truth to sit there and stand idly by watching, and that's ultimately what's happened. And the vast majority of people that believe in these products are standing there and hoping someone else does the job. So that cannot continue, guys. And thanks to everybody who have kept going. Oh, here's a good question from Wendy. This one would be good for you, Kurt, as well. Do you think they've made these statements to get everyone to relax and then slide in regs while people are in mode? What's your thoughts, Kurt?
No, I don't think this is the case whatsoever. And one of the reason being is just the reaction that some of our adversaries have had. Is you know, if this was some sort of effort to get us to kind of relax and put us into a lull, it's going to have the opposite effect. In fact, is look, we've been losing and losing and losing, and what happens when you have a victory? You know, you get pumped up, you get fired up, you're ready to start fighting again. You know, what's next? So I don't think that is the case here, and we also need to remember too that if you look at what he's saying. It's going to be very hard for them to back away from that. Is, you know, it is public record now. It has been heard. You know, if these agencies, these organizations are starting to say one thing and then completely go the opposite direction, that's going to get them into a lot of trouble. You know, you can't just flip flop like that. And now don't get me wrong. You know, there's a difference between, you know, banning vaping because it's to protect the children than what they're doing now. So it's not like they're saying they're doing something with the intention of doing something else. I think here what we have is we have an FDA commissioner who understands, you know, he understands the real world that, look, we're never going to beat smoking. Smoking isn't going to go away. It is one of the oldest industries in the United States. It has been around since the United States conception pretty much. So, you know, he's accepted that, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to find different ways to save lives, because obviously their current approach isn't working. We've seen a huge decrease in smoking over the past couple of years, and it can't be attributed, you know, to the campaign for tobacco-free kids. They may claim responsibility for it, but we all know that there's something else going on here, and I think he's aware of that. He's a smart guy. He's tuned in to what's going on, and I think that this is them trying to actually do their job the right way. And they also realize that, look, if we ban something and these smoking numbers go up, that's hard evidence that they will not be able to fight. They, you know, if smoking has been in a constant decline, you know, since basically 1964, and we get an uptick in 2018 or 2019, that's a huge problem for the FDA because of, you know, what they did. So they don't want to do that, and I think he's just being realistic at this point. And sure, it may be hard for, you know, vaping products to go through the PMTA or whatever process they have down the road, but you know, I'm a firm believer in that as long as there are products available to the smokers that can assist them in quitting smoking, I don't care if it's mine, you know, I don't care where it came from, I don't care I don't care, right? Is my business in this business is making sure that people can quit smoking.
Yeah.
So and I think, I'm hoping, you know, and I may be wrong, but I'm hoping that he has a similar attitude, and that, you know, he wants our industry to survive. You know, sure, there are players in there that we don't want to see survive, but he's giving us an opportunity to really mature as an industry, make sure that the products are manufactured properly, that they are marketed in an appropriate manner. And, you know, now is the time for us to really grow up and say that, you know, we're not going to be the fly-by-night company anymore. I want to be a product that is going to be available all across the United States. And I think this is a good step for us, and he's going to give us the ability to do so if we can prove it to him. I think that's what it's really about, is I think he wants us to prove to him that we can be a legitimate industry.
Awesome. Yeah, and I do think that's the case. I'm not one of the super skeptics. I am generally skeptical of these guys, but I know that his history and, you know, is a little bit more focused on, you know, businesses. Obviously, there's a variety of businesses, and Drew asked a really great question. Does this quote sound like it is a plug for Big Pharma? And I'm going to read it here. This is a quote apparently probably from the speech. Additionally, the agency plans to examine actions to increase access and use of FDA-approved medicinal nicotine products and work, oh boy, just Facebook, come on now. Oh my goodness. Just updated my comments right as I was reading that. Basically using, all right, well, I don't know what it is, there's so many of these, but basically essentially saying that they were going to encourage the use of FDA-approved medicinal products, and obviously we know who's making those. So what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's something that we need to look back at the whole entire speech. Is he has been plugging tobacco harm reduction from the beginning. That's what it is about, right? It's reduce the amount of nicotine that are in cigarettes to try and get stop people from using them consistently. But at the end of the day, if the patch works even if it works for 5% of people,
right,
cool. That product works. Great. Let those 5% use it. If the gum works for, an additional 6%, let it work. Let those people use that. If vaping works for, 50% or 2% or 5%, if it works, make sure that product is still available. Because if you have enough products that work, eventually a person who truly wants to quit is going to be able to quit. And that's what I think he is focused on, is he wants people to not start smoking, or in the alternative, to be able to quit smoking should they want to.
Right.
So I think he's plugging us just as, or he's plugging Big Pharma. Fine, let him plug Big Pharma as long as there's still alternative methods beyond just what pharmaceutical companies are providing.
Right, because at the end of the day, and I believe this, that businesses need to have, I think a little bit more of a free market. I mean, I'm not, a crazy person either way, but I think obviously if the best products should all compete, and the one that's winning should be a choice. I believe in freedom of choice. And so, yeah, if people want to use patches, I think that's fantastic. And if that works, it does work for some people, obviously. And I think that obviously we were never against that stuff. What I'm against is the corruption and stuff that Big Pharma has brought to this whole discussion. And of course, people don't like when he talks about that. But at the end of the day, this is the FDA. The majority of the things they deal with are pharmaceutical companies, the lobbyists, all of that is going directly from Big Pharma. So I would not expect them to be coming out saying, F Big Pharma, that's just not going to happen. So, and as a good leader, he probably shouldn't do that, because that would really upset a lot of people, and it's unnecessary. At the end of the day, all we're asking for is the truth. Let the science come out, use a science-based approach to this, listen to people, and everything today was screaming that. We are going to listen, we are going to do the science, and we're going to give it some time. And I think ultimately that's probably the big takeaway from today. So one other thing, someone just asked, what were the action from all the people in the movie that we had talked about that had Big Pharma money and other things coming, American Cancer, Heart, all that stuff, tobacco-free kids. What did you see out there, Kurt, today?
They were not happy campers. Kind of what we saw across the board is they're applauding the FDA's effort to stop smoking in its tracks, but then they were more or less condemning the FDA for pushing deadlines back. So that when they're not happy, because in their perfect world there would be no cigarettes, which there would be no vaping, there would be none of that. That's their perfect little world, right? Where suddenly no one has cancer. Unfortunately, we all know that's not the case, and that will never be the case. So what they ultimately want to do is they want to make sure that it's their products, their methods that make people quit smoking or cure their cancer, whatever it may be. So needless to say, they're not happy. If you just go, one that I actually posted on my Facebook a little bit earlier today was the campaign for tobacco-free kids. You could see, where I believe it was Matt Myers who actually released it. It may have been someone else, but you could just tell they were grinding their teeth when they were typing that out. So that's why, I said earlier, it's important that we be proactive, because they are going to double down right now, and they are going to keep fighting. So it's so important.
Well, one of the things that I always find fascinating, and this will end up being a problem, is when stuff like this comes out. Of course, these guys, who I believe Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids was facing some funding issues, thank goodness, and we were super excited to help out with that funding crisis however we could, because the funding was corrupt. And one of the things I thought was so fascinating was, or is fascinating, and is going to end up being a problem, is the fact that they're going to be able to use this for fundraising. And yeah, so wait for it. the FDA is corrupted by President Trump, and we are going to fight them tooth and nail. Send us money right now. And I think it will be somewhat successful. So I think that, you know, again, anytime you're trying to save the children, everybody's always interested in pitching in a little bit for that. So yeah, I would wait for that. Yeah, so pretty much I'd say, Scott, to answer your question, the reaction is that they're not happy about it, and there's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of propaganda coming out to kind of show why they need more funding. And I would expect that this to get real interesting. Someone else commented about how the movie didn't get a lot of attention in certain countries and whatnot. And while I guess in some ways I would agree, we only have maybe, 60,000 people following our Facebook page, and, you know, maybe another 30,000 emails and whatnot. The people that we have obviously been working behind the scenes to make sure people are seeing the movie. We've traveled to different countries, shown it to many different members of parliament, congressmen, senators at different events. The right people are seeing it, and actually the people in the FDA are definitely aware of the movie. I've made sure of that, and you know, this is not, you know, if we're for some reason missing somebody, make sure to comment or shoot me an email. And we can make sure that these guys have seen. I've sent many free copies to politicians and whatnot. It's very easy for me to do that. So if you have a politician you'd like me to potentially shoot an email to, I will do that. Obviously, I can't do 100,000 of them, so hopefully it's not an incredible amount. We do need you guys to help with that. I've noticed a lot of people have actually been on our website. You can actually gift the movie to somebody, and it's fairly easy. It just arrives in their email, and they can watch it for free. So that's certainly an option too as well. But yeah, we are not sitting by making sure people aren't seeing it. Of course, there's some countries. I just heard one of the commenters here was saying that Iran is planning on making it illegal and punishing by, like, I don't know if it was death or something. I can't find the comment, but yeah, there's going to be those countries. Obviously, Iran is also having other things that are going on, and but at the end of the day, I'm sure that stuff will work its way out as we get the science out, and, you know, as you guys out there, you know, continue to be good ambassadors for the truth. And, you know, again, I continue to urge people to be gentle and kind and intelligent and as professional as they can be. And I know a lot of you guys have been doing that, but it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that, you know, to get the politicians to pay attention, sometimes you have to key that down a little bit. Sometimes some of the enthusiasm, you know, just stick with the facts. So anyway, I'm looking at comments here. So many good things, but I think we are going to have to wrap this up very soon. Yeah, just to make sure I'm scrolling through one more time here. Lots of good comments, and we're going to go back through. Make sure, for those of you guys, you know, who are not following the page, make sure to follow our Facebook page. You know, subscribe to YouTube, sign up for our emails at abillionlives.com. We're going to continue to put things out. Obviously, I'm excited for the Collector's Edition Blu-rays to come out in coming weeks. We've got even a lost chapter there with Dr. Glantz. That should be fun for you guys, as well as a variety of other things. They're all going to be coming out. We've got some more behind-the-scenes stuff, and we're going to be posting those things. You know, not posting all of them, but we'll be posting little snippets and things. The campaign to change things is not done just because the movie's out, and I thank you guys so much for your support. Kurt, I thank you so much for your support and coming to New Zealand with us to launch the movie, and obviously helping me in some cases find interviews and, you know, just all that kind of stuff. I love it so much, and I was excited to have you on here. I'm sure there's more scientific people, but you're one of those guys who's been passionate and intelligent about this argument from, I would say, day one, but I remember YouTube videos of you blowing up batteries to test them, and so
the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days indeed. But here we are now, yeah, at the brink of what I feel like is a new era of science, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited for you guys to be watching with us today and supporting us. Just share this if you can. Let's get the truth out there. Make sure you support your advocacy organizations and efforts that are working. And also make sure that you, you know, let your congressman know and do those things. Stay tuned. We'll be offering you guys more ideas on how to fight this, but we actually have to see how some of this stuff kind of turns out. And I'm optimistic that it's going to turn out good, because at the end of the day, we are on the side of the truth, and that side always wins. So thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend, and yeah, we will see you guys very soon. My whole life, I've been told that smoking is bad. Smoking will kill you. Smokers deserve to die.
I smoked for 40 years.
50 years.
I'll go to my grave smoking.
I pretty much thought that smoking was a thing of the past, part of history. I was wrong.
billion people dying from smoking-related diseases.
70% of current smokers want to quit.
You try and you fail, you try and you fail.
I was shocked when I found out that many people were using new ways to quit.
It's one of the biggest public health breakthroughs we've ever had.
Un cigarrillo que utiliza electricidad.
E-cigarette. Kind of a savior.
Alternative to lighting up.
And that day, I stopped.
Those ways were being banned in more and more countries.
It's easier to buy a cigarette than to buy an e-cigarette. That makes no sense.
Governments worldwide are the biggest shareholders in the revenue of cigarettes.
Dangers of e-cigarettes.
And the public health community is lying about those.
Chemical.
Dangerous.
Poisonous.
There's no evidence to back that up.
It was a fraud.
People are going to die.
We don't know. But we don't know. Chocolate.
The antifreeze.
And other flavors.
What's going on?
Seized almost 1,000 shipments.
Raided my house.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
The public needs to know the truth about these products.
And they need public health people telling the truth about the risks. At least 95% less risky than smoking.
Nobody cares.
It's irresponsible.
3 black SUVs.
Disruptive change. Illegal action.
Promise,
Don't let the bastards win.
I'm gonna quit.
This is the battle for 1 billion lives.